All right, welcome into Sportsbook Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com. Pauly and Teddy, Monday, May 9th, big game breakdown. The two huge NBA playoff games. We'll throw the Mets and Dodgers at you in the deep dive. Buy, sell, boxing, and horse racing. And we'll get to the play of the day. Busy show coming up. We start with bad beats. And how about Atlanta, Cleveland, over? Now, this has been a game. This has been a series where the last three games, you just wait till the commercial break and you bet the over no matter what the number is in in-game wagering. You've been killing it. Well, wait a second now. Yesterday, all hell breaks loose. It's 50-44 with 6:46 left in the second quarter, and the game absolutely dies and somehow stays under, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, really bizarre. The total was bet from 201 up to 202.5. Not a huge move, but the money was definitely on the over in that contest. Why did it stay over, Pauly? It's real simple. It stayed over because there were no free throws. The two teams combined to make only 18 of 27 from the charity stripe. And of course, when you're looking for correlation in statistics, what correlates with overs? Free throw attempts. What correlates with unders? No free throw attempts. What did we see in this one? And of course, no fouling in the last couple of minutes when it was a one-possession game.
Yep.
Brutal beat if you had the over in that one. Did not cash.
No end game scramble in that one. That was and how about this, Teddy? Curry, who knows when he's coming back? We got it looks like a 7-game war possible with San Antonio and OKC. You got both centers out in the Miami-Toronto series, and Cleveland, all right, vacation time, another sweep.
All of a sudden, the Cavs are looking very, very live, not just to win the East, but maybe to win the whole darn thing.
All right, this is a vicious beat here. The Tigers and the Rangers, it was 2-0 in the seventh, but went over 9.
Yeah, and this is what actually got the right side on one of these. All these games I've been having like, oh my God, I took another beat. Oh, I took another beat. Here's one that I was dead wrong. Mostly. But it got there. Yeah, 2-0 after 7. It wasn't in the 7th. It was 2-0 going to the 8th.
Oh,
over 9, piece of cake. What happened? The journeyman catcher, Bobby Wilson. He's been on 5 teams since 2012. He's never had more than 171 at-bats in any season. And I think the last time he hit more than one home run in a year was also 2012. Well, he was traded from the Tigers to the Rangers on Tuesday, and boom, goes back to Motown, hits a grand slam in the 8th inning, part of a huge Rangers outburst against that Detroit bullpen. A bullpen that we've criticized a lot on this show, Pauly, but a bullpen that has actually exceeded expectations early on. Not yesterday, certainly not if you had the under in the Tigers-Rangers game.
Here's a unique bad beat. I guess this is for fantasy people, and also if you bought a ticket this weekend to watch Bryce Harper hit. How about what Madden did to him well, not only yesterday, but the whole series. Yesterday, he walked him 6 times, and he was hit by a pitch.
Yeah, Madden with 7. He was on base 7 times. He didn't have a single official at-bats on Sunday. I mean, he didn't have to do anything with his bat this weekend. Madden did not let him swing. And, of course, for the Cubs, that strategy worked perfectly. Look at the graph. The weekend of walk for Harper. He had 19 plate appearances. He had 13 walks, 1 hit by pitch. All right, so you're on base 14 times. The guy scored 3 runs and had 1 RBI. 10 times on Saturday or Sunday was a walk or a hit by pitch, but only scored 1 run. That's a good strategy. It's not letting the opponent's best player beat you. This Cubs team, there's something special. But what about Ryan Zimmerman? Talk about a moose.
Oh, my God.
You see his numbers on Sunday?
He left 11. What do you leave, 11 guys on base?
14.
14, thank you.
14 guys on base. That's almost worthy of a sportsman moment of silence right there.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. The Nats, 1 for 19 runners in scoring position. And Chicago, all they keep doing is winning games. Although, at least on Sunday, was one game that they didn't win by multiple runs, did not cash run line bets.
Bad bet. They didn't respect Stephen Wright, and the favorite switched in that one, and the Red Sox get a win, and Wright was dynamite again.
Yeah, he's been really good. Boston opened minus 120. All the money came on the Yankees, again, in a series where there's no home field advantage whatsoever. And here's a tip on knuckleballers. You know, the markets react to the advanced metric stats. When you look at pitchers, the advanced metric stats, fielding independent pitching, FIP, Sierra's another one, they tend to underrate knuckleballers. Why? Because it's going to look like their BABIP, their batting average on balls in play, is too low and should correct itself. But it won't. Knucklers get more pop-ups than other pitchers and generally get fewer strikeouts. Pop-ups, obviously, are great for BABIP. So knuckleball pitchers are going to have a lower BABIP than the average. The advanced metric markets aren't going to recognize that, and there tends to be value supporting pitchers like Stephen Wright against the markets that rely so much on these silly stats. I mean, the guy's only 3-3, but he's got a 1.52 ERA on the season. Had great command on Sunday. 66 of 101 pitches in the strike zone and only one walk. That's darn good for a knuckleballer.
Fastest Red Sox-Yankee game since 1999. It's about time they played a game under 4 hours. Another show, and we got to mention the Reds bullpen again.
Oh, they do it again. All weekend. They took a loss on Sunday. They blew a 4-1 lead. Starter Lamb, and this is a tough beat. You know, John Lamb, who's might well be a bet-on starter. He sprains his thumb at the start of the fifth. Delabar comes in. By the third pitch, he hit a dinger, and it went downhill from there. And, oh, by the way, the Pen took the loss on Saturday, too. They blew 4-0 and 6-2 leads in that game. Ended up giving up 6 in the 10th and losing that game 13-7.
Yeah, with the Spurs, is this a bad bet to take the Spurs? Because I guess OKC's season on the line, it could have determined would Durant stay around. I mean, probably out the door if they lost in 5 and they got ran out. Well, they ran out of gas, and OKC blew them out in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I don't think it was a bad bet to have the Spurs. I'd taken on OKC in that game, but you can't look at San Antonio and say, hey, they were wrong from the get-go. I mean, the Spurs led throughout that contest until OKC went on that fourth quarter run. And the thing that stood out to me were the quotes I was getting from Durant, because sometimes when the impending free agents face adversity, they're going to lay down. They're like, I'm done with this team. Look at LaMarcus Aldridge last year when they played Memphis and how ugly that series was for Aldridge and the Blazers. That wasn't the case for Kevin Durant. And all the quotes from Durant prior to Game 4 were positive ones. But, Satchel Paige, you remember Satchel Paige, Ballers before your time.
Yeah, no, I remember.
And he said, don't look back. Something might be gaining up on you. When Tim Duncan looks over his shoulder, Father Time's coming up fast. You seen Duncan the last 2 games?
Horror show.
He went in Game 4, he goes scoreless and had 4 fouls. The last 2 games, Pop has only had him on the floor for 26 minutes. In those 26 minutes, 2 points, 4 rebounds, complete non-factor. Steven Adams is better than Tim Duncan right now.
And Green gave him nothing either. All right, we're going to do this later in the week because we're always going to talk a little football. But Chris Andrews is now at the South Point here in Las Vegas running the book with Jimmy Vaccaro. They're creative. They take chances. They put up that prop. How many games would Golden State lose in the playoffs? It opened 5.5, was bet to 6. And now they're doing exact win totals in the NFL.
Yeah, I thought this was really unique. It's nothing that I had seen before. So you want to take a team like Atlanta. You can bet them to win exactly 7 games, exactly 8 games, exactly 9 games, or field, which is anything else. So each team has 4 choices. And what we're going to do later in the week, we're going to make a nice chart for you, a nice graphic, and lay these out and start going through some of the NFL. Because, you know what, Pauly? It's time to start doing some team-by-team stuff. But we'll save that for a little bit later in the week. It's really good to see Chris Andrews, I believe a former SBR contributor, making unique moves over at the South Point. They've become, we talk about the books in Vegas, and it's always been Canner, CG Technology, or the Westgate Superbook. South Point now has to be mentioned in the same breath with those other 2. 3 elite books in town, not just 2.
I'm with you on that one. Up next, big game breakdown. We'll start with the Heat and the Raptors on Sportsbook. Betting insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Time for big game breakdown. Live odds at sportsbookreview.com. Raptors on the road to take on the Heat. Miami 5.5, 190 the total. And look at this. It only took 10 games. Lowry shows up. He was huge in the Game 3 win on the road. 9 of 13 after halftime, 5 of 5 from 3. His teammates were 4 of 21, and they didn't make a three-pointer. Is he back, Teddy, or are we overreacting to one game?
I mean, Game 3 was fun, watching Lowry and Wade go at it in the second half. Talk about Lowry 9 of 13 after halftime with 5 3-pointers and his teammates stinking. The same thing happened for Wade.
Yep.
Wade went 9 for 16 after halftime. He went 3 for 5 for three-point range. His teammates, 6 for 22 from the floor and over 4 on 3. So Lowry able to do just a little bit more to get his team the victory. But are we going to say Lowry has his full swagger back? I'm not ready to say that after one game. It certainly helps. And I think it helped him to be in Miami as opposed to playing in front of the home crowd where the pressure's just been too much for him. But it's certainly a sign in the positive direction for Toronto. But now, Paul, the whole tenor of this series has changed.
Yep.
Because now it's becoming a battle without the big men. And the two big men have both been huge in this series.
I don't know what's going to happen. This is going to be nutty tonight. So I sent the email to you about, Whiteside has got the same injury as Curry with the sprained MCL. They're calling him day to day, but here Curry's got the same injury. He's missed 2 weeks. And then it's like, well, how can Toronto win this series? But when Whiteside got hurt, Toronto was burying him. They were up 13. Then Valanciunas sprained the ankle. He's out for the rest of the series. So does Spoelstra go small? Does McRoberts get more minutes? This is going to be fascinating how both coaches handle this now.
Sure. And when it comes to Valanciunas, I should say, we're talking about a guy who's been a very different player here in the postseason than he has during the regular season. He was a decent contributor in the regular season. Here in the postseason, he's been a difference maker. They don't win the Indiana series without the way that he played. Mm-hmm. And the first 2 games of this, we're talking about 19.5 points and 14 rebounds. He already had 16 points and 12 rebounds in 22 minutes of game 3. And most importantly, the Raptors, with him on the court, plus 41 in this series. Without him on the court, minus 39. So you read the Dwayne Casey quote, "We can't change schematically or philosophically what we do, so that's not going to change. It doesn't matter who starts. That person's going to have to come in and fill a role of screening, rebounding, and defending his position and adding to the team." Yeah, I agree with his assessment. Let's not change anything. Miami, though, might be a team that changes up some stuff, don't you think, Paul?
I know. I don't know what he's going to do, if it's going to be McRoberts or how he juggles the line. He didn't play Winslow in the last game, which was odd. So you also have Dragic, who is scoring but not creating. You look at this graphic, 16 points per game, but only 7 assists and 12 turnovers. And he was in foul trouble in game 3, and Spoelstra left him on the bench late in the fourth quarter.
Well, the Heat have only assisted on 33% of their baskets in this series. That's the lowest ratio for any team in a series over the last 20 years. Now, we're only 3 games in, but clearly Miami's been playing one-on-one, and Dragic, I gave him a ton of credit the other show when he had that big shooting night.
Yeah.
He's got to distribute. You look at Whiteside, though, and let's get back to Hassan Whiteside, because, throughout the regular season, he was a monster, and particularly when it comes to shot blocking. Here in the first couple of games of this series, the rebounding has been there. But we talked about the huge numbers that Toronto had with their big man on the floor. Miami's minus 8 with him on the court in the series, Whiteside. They don't have any other shot blockers, and they've been losing with him on the floor. You have to wonder if Spoelstra goes small in this one, and that really might help open up the floor for the offense that needs it, because obviously the creating hasn't been there and the assists haven't been there in this series. And you talk about Dragic, 7 assists, 12 turnovers. I don't know if any offense can survive with that long term from the point guard position.
This also could be an instance where the agent and the organization come to an agreement to shut the guy down the rest of the playoffs, because he's got a lot to lose. His contract's up, and he's looking at a max deal too, so maybe Whiteside done for the playoffs, and again, that's great news for Cleveland. To the late game, Golden State and Portland. Golden State 4.5, 214 on the road. Lillard again, he was fresh in game 3. He went off again, 40 points, 10 assists, and a big reason why they won game 3, they have not been able to guard this guy, Teddy, the entire season.
No, remember, the Blazers had a big lead in game 2, and then Lillard went out of gas in the fourth quarter. And we talked about how difficult that was as a scheduling spot, where they played 6 consecutive games without any extra rest, taking multiple road trips. He ran out of gas, but they didn't stop him. He ran out of gas. Game 3, Portland built that same lead, and this time Lillard didn't run out of gas. 40 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds on Saturday. And of course, the Warriors have those tall guards that are tough to shoot over, but both Livingston and Klay Thompson, a step slow against Damian Lillard in particular. I don't think that either guy can stay with Lillard off the dribble.
Yep, I'm with you on that one. And how about Draymond Green? 37 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. He said after the game, quote, that's cute, but I didn't do what I do for this team. I didn't lead my troops. I feel like I was horrendous on the defensive end. We'll be better there, and I'll be better, and we'll win. Only two guys did the damage. It was Green and Thompson, who scored 72 points and were 13 of 21 from downtown. And as Kerr said yesterday, Curry's doubtful, so we'll see what help they get from the rest of the squad. And Livingston's been terrific in the playoffs, but he didn't do much in the Game 3 loss.
Well, the issue with Curry right now is that if he plays, he's going to have to stay in front of Lillard.
Yep.
Now, he could well be a liability on the defensive end in that type of situation with the quickness that Lillard has and with Curry coming back off injury. We know we're going to see a Game 5 in this series. There has to be. There's 2-1. You just wonder if this is a spot for Kerr to say, yeah, I'm not going to rush my guy. Even if we go back to Golden State down or tied 2-2, it's not a disastrous situation for us. We still got 3 more games in this series. We got 2 of them at home, and we'll have a fully healthy Curry as opposed to a partially healthy Curry. But on the other hand, what if Kerr doesn't have an answer for Damian Lillard defensively? I mean, Here's his quote. He's a lot like Steph in that he's got unlimited range. He can shoot off the dribble and high screens and shoot step backs, so we know he's going to be a handful. He always is, and he played a great game. Look at the numbers in 3 home games versus the Warriors this year for Damian Lillard. He's played about 110 minutes, 130.1 points. That's an average of 56.8 points per 48. That's getting the job done. And that being said, before you run to the window and bet Portland in this, you know those numbers off Golden State coming off a loss this year, don't you, Pauly?
Yeah, you know it. Portland became the first team to beat them twice this year, and Golden State has not lost back-to-back games. Here's the graphic. 10-0 straight up off a loss, 7-3 ATS. 2 of the 3 ATS losses where they were laying double digits. No Iguodala in those 2 as well. So absolute money off a loss.
Absolutely. And of course, they went only 6-11 ATS without Iggy this year.
Yep.
And the 2 games we were talking about, they're laying 12.5 to Minnesota. At Minnesota, they still win comfortably. They're laying 16 at home versus Orlando. They still win that game comfortably. Warriors off a loss have been a team to be reckoned with throughout the course of the 2015/16 regular season and postseason. Remember what happened after they lost to Houston? They came back pretty strong their next game.
Yep, can't wait to watch that game coming up tonight. Again, live odds at sportsbookreview.com. One baseball game, Mets and the Dodgers. Mets on the road, $1.15, 7.5 the total. Mats against Casimir. Mats was rocked against Miami since then. Dynamite, 4-0 with an ERA under 1, although we did face the Braves twice during that stretch, Teddy.
Yeah, but I mean, the 2016 overall numbers are going to look good. The truth is they should be even better. As you mentioned, 7 runs in a 1.2 against Miami in the season opener. And this is something that we look for a lot around this type of year. Beginning of May, middle of May, you see one outlier performance for a pitcher, particularly when they got roughed up early on, and it's affecting their complete season-long numbers, and the markets don't pay as much respect to them as they should. I mean, even with that Miami game included, Steven Matz is number 5 in fielding independent pitching, FIP. And what's he given up? Like 2 runs his last 4 starts? He's been a monster.
Yeah.
But we've talked about this particular set of stats together. Matz, over 9 strikeouts per 9 innings and over 50% in ground ball rate. When you have stats that are striking out a batter per inning and getting more than half their outs on the ground, boy, those are the special pitchers, and Matt's looking like he's one of them.
Okay, now what are we doing with Casimir?
Well, I mean, the Mets are hitting, at least a little bit better. They got the win on Sunday despite sitting out David Wright. They only used Neil Walker as a pinch hitter. But, Casimir's got that same old familiar leg kick despite being in a new uniform, but it's after he releases the ball that things start to look a little bit different. The number so far has been real ugly. 2-2 with a 5.68 ERA. He's allowed multiple home runs in 3 different games, and he's only averaging 5.1 innings per start. But of course, that's a big problem because that Dodger middle relief has really struggled. And let's not forget, the Dodgers are the team that has to do the tough travel here. The Mets coming from San Diego. The Dodgers are coming back from the East Coast, and the baseball usually gives teams a day off if a road trip ends when they have to cross the country. That's a long flight back from Toronto.
Up next, deep dive, buy, sell, horse racing, and boxing, plus the play of the day on Sportsbit. Betting insight today.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Time for the deep dive on Sportsbit. Betting insight today on SBRpicks.com. Horse racing and boxing. A good weekend? Buy, sell, or are we just no big deal? Let's start with horse racing. All chalk. Nyquist wins again. 8 starts, 8 wins. An exaggerator right behind him. So the exacta didn't pay much at all. And now, boy, the overreaction here, Teddy. I could be a special horse, but look at the price now on Nyquist to win the Triple Crown.
Yeah, it's basically like almost chalk to win the Triple Crown, plus 220. And of course, we all know how difficult the Belmont tends to be, even for guys that win the Derby and the Preakness. But, it's good for the sport always to have a legitimate Triple Crown contender. But when a 2-1 Derby favorite becomes an odds-on favorite in the Preakness, it's making the race a tough sell because it doesn't look like anybody's going to run in the Preakness. All the horses that might have been competition for Nyquist don't look like they're going to run in Pimlico.
How about that? Pimlico. You could see only three or four horses that ran in the Derby could run in 2 weeks from now. That's crazy. This was it. We went over this with Brian Blessing earlier in the week about after American Pharoah off the Triple Crown win. What ratings down? Ratings down for the Derby about 18%. That was a surprise.
Yeah, ratings are down and payouts are down, and A and B are probably related in some regard. Horse racing, certainly in Las Vegas, the demographic has just gotten older and older and older. The young people have not been attracted to horse racing. Some of it has to do with the fact that you can't beat horse racing.
Yep.
The takeout from the pari-mutuels ranges between 16 and 22%, and it's really tough to beat that kind of juice short term and long term. And you look at the payout today. Oh, I hit the exacta in the Derby. Lowest payout since 1997.
Wow.
That's that's kind of a bummer.
Try paid nothing.
Yeah, the trifecta. When the chalk comes in, you're not seeing the true long shot scores, especially when you're talking about a 20 horse field like the Derby is. But good thing for horse racing that I don't know. Horse racing it's not trending in the right direction. It's not likely to turn it around. Is there a Tiger Woods that could come out and turn horse racing around? I just don't see it. Even American Pharoah doesn't change the sport for an extended period. Good weekend for horse racing, but long term, they're doomed.
Yep, I'm with you. Good weekend for boxing. Canelo beats Khan. He opened a $3 favorite, bet up to as high as $7, and you know what was going to happen. He was just so damn big, and he finally knocked him out cold in the 6th round.
So I'm watching the fight over at a buddy's house, and he had some friends over. Some guys, some guys I didn't know, and they were asking me questions about betting. These guys were really knowledgeable about boxing, but not knowledgeable about betting. So what's the number? I'm like, Alvarez is I was looking around on the apps on my phone. I'm like, I can get you minus $5 right now. And they're like, well, there's no way he could lose, but nah, I don't want to make that bet. Bet 5 to win 1? People don't understand. That's what you got to do with the good fighters. When the guy's going to win, you lay 5, you win 1. If he's a lock, you lay it. And Khan gave him a battle the first couple of rounds. I thought that might be a fight, but I kind of felt like Alvarez was toying with him. He set them all up for that one KO punch. How many times do you watch that replay, Paul? That was. I bet you there've been at least a handful of times that you wish you could do that to my face.
Yep. Yes, right. Well, here's the problem with boxing, and there's 2 big issues. The heavyweight division has stunk for a long, long time. That's why people have tuned out, and they can't make the big fights happen. Pacquiao-Mayweather should have happened 5-6 years ago. It took forever, and they were, so old when it happened, and it was a boring fight. It was a sleep inducer. So how long will it take? Will they match Canelo against Triple G? That has to happen. And the other problem he has is you usually only get one big fight a year.
Yeah, I don't think boxing is in as much trouble as horse racing. Horse racing, the demographics are just so bad. Young people just don't go to horse races and watch horse races, and the numbers are awful. Boxing is always, I think, going to have some type of an audience, and it's not nearly as big as it was. MMA has stolen a lot of their thunder, and deservedly so. A lot of times MMA is more exciting than boxing, except for when the guys are grappling on the floor for 6 minutes at a time. But boxing promotion has been bad. But the biggest issue for boxing is that the best boxers, in theory, are kids that used to box, in the 50s and the 60s. Those kids all of a sudden started to be able to get scholarships to play football or basketball instead. They don't box anymore. The guys that used to be boxers because there weren't other opportunities, they have other opportunities now. This country's not quite as racist as it was 50 years ago. Kids get football scholarships and basketball scholarships. Remember, African American kids couldn't get those scholarships in 1958. What'd they do? They fought. That's not the case in this century. Hopefully, it will continue not to be the case in this century. And that's bad news because the best fighters are simply choosing other sports.
Did you ask your crew if Canelo's got a shot against Triple G? Most people say no.
I did not. We were talking about the fight as we were watching it, and it's funny when you watch guys that really are fans. They point out little things that you just don't see. They saw that Alvarez had that big edge, and that Khan was tiring before I did. And one punch from Alvarez against a tired Khan, and it is all over.
Khan said before the fight, "There's no way I can hurt him." So, although we got off to a good start. All right, money time. Play of the day. Where are we going, Teddy?
Let's go out to the left coast and take a look at game number 909. That's the New York Mets minus 115 in LA. We talked about this game earlier on Big Game Breakdown. The key here, you got Mats early, you got Familia late. Yeah, we're going to be the ones celebrating when the final out is recorded at Dodger Stadium. LA's not hitting. They got pitching issues. They have middle relief issues. Mets might be the better of these two teams. Reasonable price to lay. Let's do it. Minus 115 with the Mets. That's our play of the day.
Big show tomorrow. MLB guests recap the two big games in the NBA playoffs. Preview Spurs OKC Game 5. And another coach fired in the NBA. We'll sneak that in too on Sportsbit. Betting Insight today.